What is happening, people? Steve Maeda here, and we are talking on our rebuild call on Friday morning. We have them every Friday. Really good stuff. Check out the links down below. We're talking about something really touchy, and there's a lot I could say about this. When you are oftentimes going through a breakup, when you're going through a divorce, when you're going through a child custody thing, a lot of the times, and this is really important to distinguish, a female-inspired breakup or divorce, and usually they've done something that might be socially unacceptable. And I want to talk about this because legally it doesn't matter too much, but you can kind of play with it in your strategy that you need to do. You will get false abuse claims or child abuse claims. It is like one of those things, and it goes down the list of like things where they, like a woman when she's panicked and against the wall, will fire at you. They could be abuse claims, they could be addiction or alcohol abuse or whatever, those types of things claims, substance abuse claims. They could be sexual claims, but there's always this thing where a woman goes with, I was justified in my actions and I almost don't want to show those actions because I was afraid for my life. Super common, super fucked up. You've got to handle this right because it can and most likely blow up in your face. We're going to talk about the timelines for it. We're going to talk about her process for it. We're going to talk about if it gets entertained or if it gets dropped, what's going to happen. So there's a lot here. If you're going through this, if you've gone through this, listen up. I do not want to have more people. I appreciate this, but I do not want to have more guys going, I wish I would have watched this 2 years ago before my life fell apart. Fix this now. All right, so complex thing. First thing, man, I wrote a PDF just for you on this, the Single Dad's Guide to Divorce and Child Custody. Look, if you don't have a custody thing, if you weren't married or whatever it is, get the PDF anyway because it's going to talk about a lot of things that are super helpful. Number one thing that you need with all of this is you need a support system right now. I have a business where that is the thing. We're designed for that. We're made for it. There's other people who have it. There's a lot of bad ones out there, but regardless of any of that, you need that. And there's a couple of reasons why you need that, because if you do not have that, man, like you are going to be just, you're going to be so lost. And you need a lot of support and a lot of perspective. Why? Because your lawyer's not going to be able to do everything for you. He's not going to be your counselor. It's going to be such a mind fuck in so many ways, which I'll touch on here. And God, if you are in therapy, your therapist is going to help you get to your mental health, but not help you strategically decide the different things that come up in this whole process. You need that. The other thing you need in this case, and this I hate to say this because there's a lot of different divorce and custody situations where you may not need to get a lawyer and you can do most of it yourself. If in this case you have to get a lawyer. If you can't afford one, there's some things that you can do, but it is very difficult to navigate through a legal system, and in some cases with one of our members, an international legal system where this is happening. You need an attorney to navigate those things. And sometimes you might even need multiple attorneys. Now, anytime you hire an attorney, you should know that you're going to have to put in some of the work yourself. And in putting some of the work yourself, you got to have guidance for that. And again, that's the importance of a men's group. They can point you in the directions of how to do a lot of things to cut down your lawyer costs. And if you just can't afford a lawyer, some stuff that the bare minimum that you have to do, but man, it's not looking good if you can't afford a lawyer. I don't know how long I want to make this video, but I can tell you the most likely outcomes for that if you don't have a lawyer too, because it's not always terrible, but you're going to have to take losses that you may not be happy with at first, but in the long run, it could work out. The other thing too is, man, therapy, you're going through stress, which you've never imagined. There's so many different resources for therapy. You can go to, especially if you're looking for free legal advice, you can go to your city hall, find stuff there, but also for therapy and mental health, you can look online. There's a lot of ways where that's exploited, but at least social programs have made it very possible for you to get different types of therapy for discounted costs. And of course, you can go into privatized therapy, which, is great too. You might need to hunt around for different therapists or different free groups or discounted groups that can help you, but they're there. Again, a men's group is a good thing for that. There needs to be more dialogue about this on the Austin Men's Development Board. So first off, let's go to why. Why does this happen? Why does it happen? And it's so unbelievably predictable. It's pathetic. I remember telling my ex-wife, and then she did the same thing. I'm like, man, female-inspired divorces always end up the same. The woman goes crazy. She tries to rebel. She then justifies her rebellion with, all sorts of screwed up stuff to, one, prove that she's right, to ignore anything that she did wrong, and to get her way legally, which is usually by making up like some abuse claim. And then 18 months later, 2 years later, she comes back to the man who's over it at this point, especially if he's working with our groups and getting to a good spot with himself. He's over it at this point. He's like disgusted by her. And he is basically like hearing her say, you should have fought for me more. You should have done this for me more. Why'd you let me leave? This was a mistake. And he's like, dude, and then if that guy doesn't have a support group, he feels all guilty because he's like, oh, I could have done more. But when we see this like broken record of stuff, it's crazy. What's crazy is my ex did the same thing. And it's the same pattern of, dude, did some shameful stuff. And let me just tell you, in divorce and child custody, and this is part of the strategy that if you have a good lawyer, you may use. You might not, depends on your case. I'm not a lawyer. I just see this stuff play out all the time. But infidelity can kind of matter in divorce and alimony stuff. Has a play. It's not a clear black and white thing. It's a character thing. It's bad, right? It's a bad thing. It can be shameful. But when it comes down to judges and whatnot deciding, and juries deciding things, it's got to be black and white. And that's just not one of those red hot things. In child custody, it actually doesn't matter. What would matter is exposure to the kids of other people and, dangerous situations and putting the kids in danger psychologically, physically, all these different ways. So it's interesting. That doesn't matter. But to a woman, it's huge. Like, she's cheated. She's done something wrong. She's, whatever. And this could be at varying degrees, right? This could be really bad. Other things too, which women tend to do when they do these breakups, is they freak the fuck out and they use the kids. This is like this natural female thing, and it changes over time. This will go away if you handle your divorce and your separation, your custody stuff properly. This will go away 18 months to 2 years, but if not, it'll sustain forever if you continue to piss her off and make her mad. But she will take the kids and not let you see him, and it'll be like her protector thing, and it's her safety, and she's fighting for her lives for her kids. I mean, look, just man to man, I'm going to tell you, this is the most dumb, idiotic, illogical thing. Every pregnant woman takes prenatal vitamins and does everything best for a baby and, gets the crib ready and all this stuff, which is so important and so good. And it's so powerful about the best interest for the kid. When women go through breakups where they do something shameful to inspire it, and they can't face that shame, rather than just breaking up and figuring out how to deal with it, they rebel hard and fight and do erratic actions that can get them in trouble. And this can get them in trouble. I mean, to starkly remove kids from a home is, again, not a black and white thing, but it will have some play in a custody battle. Now, let me just tell you right now, when I'm talking about custody stuff, I'm talking about stuff that'll play out in a courtroom or in some sort of legal action with a mediator or judge. Gossip with your friends doesn't count. I get your friends may have opinions about it and think all this stuff. It's got to matter in court. So kind of what I mean by that, and I talk about this a lot, and again, I apologize, it's going to be a long video. More the reason why you need to be in a men's group, more the reason why you should spend like the 10, 20 bucks on the Rebuild Challenge to be involved in it. You gotta have people that have been through this, and to come on a call and talk about your problems and have 10, 20 other guys come in and say, man, the same thing happened to me. Here's what happened. Here's what's going to happen next. Here's what you need to do. It's pretty supportive. Like, I get it. Your family and friends might support you, and that's good, and you need that. But these are guys who've been to the other side. So when she's in this mode of, making these claims or whatever it is, she erratically removes the kids from the house or won't let you come back to the house. But she will do something that's a bold move to just, change the family situation, not let you see the kids. This is totally fucking normal. For better or for worse, and as screwed up as it is, that is a standard. That's crazy, but that happens. You can fight that, but it has to be legally. That means fighting it with gossip, shit talking, sending her bad text messages, whatever those things are. That does not matter. That doesn't matter, right? That will hurt you. And I get that we're only human and those things can happen, but like that will mess things up. So what you want to do is you want to be able to do the right legal actions. Okay, and that could be a phone call with your attorney to set something up, but in many cases, women then are so stubborn that there needs to be like blunt action, like serving them or getting them to have to lawyer up, retain a lawyer and so on. So when we move into this, when you enter into a legal battle with this is my opinion, every situation is different, but when this starts to happen, this was tough for me because you can't think. You're all mind fucked. You might be heartbroken. You might be upset. You can't see your kids. You're doubting yourself. You have the father guilt of like, man, how did I let my family fall apart? All these different things, right? So in my situation, I had a lot of very, very good attorney friends. Some were family law attorneys and some were not. You got to realize if she does not have a lot of money, she's not going to be able to afford a good lawyer. You actually want her to afford a good lawyer because if not, the lawyer's going to make a bunch of mistakes, which is what happened in my case. And then it's going to cost you more. Like I ended up having to probably spend $8,000 to $10,000 more because her attorney was not competent for family law, at least. Like he didn't know what to do, so there were mistakes made and you have to fix them, and your lawyer then has to fix them. But you also want to force that situation, and you want to force that situation big. So my attorney friends were like, Steve, I know you're pissed off and angry and you don't want to work out of resentment. You're trying to work, like you can work on that stuff later, but you need to hit so hard she stops. So in my situation, my ex was doing a bunch of really terrible things. She got caught with it. It was so stupid. It was really stupid. It was not smart. Like you would appreciate it if it like had some sort of like, I don't know, logic to it, but it was so stupid and terrible in so many ways, sabotaging more, I'd even say, for herself than for anything that she had with the family. She flipped at that point when I found out about it and was like, you're abusing the kids. I'm afraid for my life, all this sort of stuff. So I immediately consulted lawyers. This is happening. And so I have a child abuse claim, a charge that was put against me from 2012, which ended up in this horrible situation. And everybody's kind of made peace and apologized for it, but it cost me a lot of money. It made my kids, made me not be able to see my kids for 5 years. And it was a big fucking terrible waste of time. And it was disturbing. And so this is where I'll tell you the outcome if you can't fight it, because in that one I could not fight it in the proper way. When that happens, right, when these things happen, you have to hit hard. So that's what I did. I couldn't think straight. I got advice from other attorney friends. I got advice from people in multiple resources, men's groups, my own men's group mainly. And man, it was huge. And then with my community of like, man, what's my moral path and how do I live a good life? There was advice there and those types of things. And it was like, you gotta hit hard. Even my attorney was very careful about what to do. When we hit hard, we hit hard. In that, I inventoried my complete self of everything wrong with me, everything that I could, be bad about me, used to attack me, so my attorney could protect me from that. And believe it or not, I've lived a pretty crazy life, but I've been clean and recovery for the last almost 12 years now. My life has been pretty good. Like I haven't done much that could be dug up about me in that whole time. And then, of course, situations with my ex and that were problems. And there were some big things, which I didn't realize were those things. So I had to determine, okay, what's bad? Like, okay, infidelity and, lying and manipulating or whatever, that's bad, but that doesn't really affect a child custody case. It doesn't affect divorce so much. That builds bad character and it can sway a jury. It can make somebody look bad, but it does not give a black and white legal thing. So I had to determine what was legally bad. And this was pretty tremendous. When it got to the point of what we had laid out for a plan, it was elaborate. And every attorney, even my attorney is like, man, I'm not sure if Steve's telling me everything, but it is reading out with the research. He actually psychologically profiled my ex. He used that later. It came to be extremely effective, even from the point of serving her papers to this whole thing the whole entire run, he used his psychological profile lever to just completely, make that case amazing. It's unbelievable. We'll produce some content together about it in the future, but it's really disturbing. What's disturbing about it is that it's so common. There's guys in my group that have gone through the same thing over and over again. So basically, we laid out this really big plan that if we were going to strike, instead of go passively through it, we were going to hit hard. And when you hit hard, you are trying to destroy somebody's legal case. You're not trying to destroy them. And this is where the hurt man with a broken heart who feels lost, like you're like, man, I want to destroy her because it's, feels good. You had this big loss in your life or whatever. We're not trying to destroy somebody. We're trying to destroy their legal case, make it impossible. Basically what we did is we strategized it and we made it to a point where easy, I could walk away, no questions asked, full custody due to having things come out that would put her in jail immediately. No questions asked, like under oath admissions of things that would immediately criminalize her. Now, this thing that we did it privately for a reason and not in front of a judge, because if it was in front of a judge, there would be immediate consequences, which may not be jail time, but there would be a whole separate case for that. And there were actually two, I think, distinct things that were like, boom, black and white, you are having your kids forcibly removed. Well, one of them for that. And the other one would be, all right, here's this whole separate case where we could put you actually in prison for. Stretches. Do they really deserve prison? Do they really deserve to lose their children? I don't think so. But you, again, don't want to, you may want to destroy the person, but the goal legally is not to destroy the person, is to destroy their legal case. If you can tactically do that, that's good. I had a case. I was pretty clean with a lot of stuff. There were some dark things. Of course, this could come out more with the content I produced with my lawyer, but pretty good stuff. Okay, not everybody has that situation. Some people don't, but it is pretty crazy. And then one of the other things too is, I was very smart about my attorney, is in the process of this. So I just want to bring this up. If you get false child abuse claims and they can't stick, then the woman is going to retract that immediately. She's going to retract that. So it's like, oh man, he's abusing kids. There's a lot of ways to determine that if you have a good attorney and you have some good advisors, really, if you have a good men's group who's been there, because your attorney may not have an attorney that's experienced with this, right? There's ways where you can really easily prove that's not within a shadow of a doubt, right? So it's like no judge and jury would entertain it, so they don't want to bog down the court systems with a case like that. But if you don't do that, they will bog the court systems down with your case. All right, so then if it gets proven, or that doesn't hold water, and she realizes she could actually get in trouble for false child abuse claims or false abuse claims towards her, and you could use that as a counter and she could lose this case, she's going to switch and say that never happened. That never happened. I never did that. I forgot that I was in an emotional state. And this is one of those things with both men and women when we're in highly emotional states. We literally don't remember us acting that way. And so there's a huge denial process that they'll do whether they remember it or not. So if you can find ways to prove that, that's pretty good. Man, if you have a good men's group that knows how this happens, I mean, man, what happened in my case is we were able to prove it. She did when it was realized like this could get her in trouble, she backtracked on it. Never happened. Interesting thing, because in how we handled things in our deposition is a lot of lying, which is like real obvious, but we let a lot of those lies sit. One of those was that lie of like, no, I never made that claim, never made those false abuse claims, like he was just neglectful, which was also not true. It could easily been proven, but it was like this backtracking of it. Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's proof of like, no, he abused them. He did this and that, and I want him in jail, and I want this, like, I don't want anybody to look at my bad stuff. So let's take him completely out of the picture. Very common for women, but we all have proof. So if we did go to a trial, which we still could, or if I still wanted to make a play for child custody, full custody, I already have everything I need. And my decision in that was, no, I don't believe that's right. I don't believe that we should go for that just yet. I think we should allow, some sort of joint thing to happen. What's interesting now in this, and this is also common, she does not realize, one, because she did not hire the right attorney, how criminally implicated she put herself. And I've not had that discussion with her, and it's probably best I don't. But I mean, terrible, terrible things from that. So again, what you're going to get when you legally wreck somebody, you're not personally wrecking them. They're not going to understand that. Okay. So that's important to distinguish. And that's okay. You got to step away from that. There's no point in that. One of the reasons why you got to step away from that is, let's now go through the scenario of if you don't have the funds for an attorney. You could go to jail. You could go get judgments or take pleas or these things put against you. In my situation in 2012, I was forced to take a plea. We ran out of money legally. What can you do? You can't defend it. It was too hard to defend. I let things go too long down the road. It was too tough. It's too tough. There was a lot of evidence my way, but you need money to be able to organize that. So one of the things you can do is you can organize some of the evidence yourself. You could present it to a judge. You have to do it in the right way, which we're also unprepared for. This is what an attorney's good for. We can't use mumbo jumbo talk. We can't use opinions. We can't use gossip. We have to be able to bring it back to facts. If she starts yelling in the courtroom, we can't yell back. We can't communicate how she's communicating. I mean, these things are very common that happen. Or if a prosecutor throws you a curveball, you don't know how to deal with that. It's really crazy, right? You have to prepare hardcore for that, but you might take a loss. Your biggest job for if you do have good legal representation or don't have legal representation is to calm the waters between you and her. And the reason for that is because you are going to be a dad. You are going to see those kids. It was horrific and terrible that I didn't get to see my kids for 5 years, but thankfully I built my life up more. Thankfully I didn't rock the boat with my ex more after that. I mean, after that sting, it was like, fuck it, we're not communicating. We need to build better bridges. This is not going to continue. Okay, you won this time, but we got to be parents. We have to rebuild those bridges. So you want to get in a place where you build up a resentment-free life. You fix yourself. You work on what's there so that you can be a father to your kids. Doesn't matter legally if it's good or bad or whatever's happening, or you get in trouble or you take a hit, whatever. You're going to have to build your life up for your kids. Now that means if you had a good lawyer and kicked her ass, build your life up for your kids. Okay. If you had a good lawyer and you lost the case, or a bad lawyer, lost the case, didn't have a lawyer, lost the case, build your life up for the kids. That's huge. Okay. So interesting. Now let's go through this scenario where she does get her way with the abuse claims. That is going to run her train longer. So one of the things is if you start attacking her on a personal level, this is why you can't do this. If you start attacking her on a personal level, she then feels more justified. It's like, well, look, he's crazy. He's crazy. He's a crazy person. He's doing this. She no longer has to look at herself. She can't calm herself down. She stays on red alert. She stays on attack mode. Okay. Even if you kick her ass and win in court and you talk shit on her or whatever stuff, you put yourself in a situation where you have totally stimulated her to not have her look at herself, not have her fix herself, not have her sit in her own shit, not have her see her consequences. She can blame you. It's like, no, look, he's attacking me. He's crazy. He's obviously crazy. She can even think that even when it's not true. So you have to completely take that narrative out of her life. So if she does lose and she has that, she can still attack you and get her group of friends to buy into her bullshit, which will always be there. You want that all to calm down. No friends, as much as they're like yes men or yes girls or whatever they are, want to hear somebody bitching about their split up when there's no real reason to bitch about it. But if there's the slightest reason to bitch about it, she can sustain that narrative for a long time. Now, if she wins, that is worse. And it can go for years and years and years. I remember when I was reintegrated with my kids after 5 years, their mom was still like, he is an abuser. She was allowed to buy into that sort of thing. And it took about a year of me interacting with them for that to calm down, and now non-issue, and a lot of the the stuff of what was also pissed off is resolved. And then the kids, talking to her about it, the kids talking to me about it, in that sort of way of going like, man, this only hurt us and it was really terrible. I don't understand why it all happened. But so those things are those are the realities of what these things bring up. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want your kids coaching their parents on communication of going like, man, mom, this happened and this is how I felt about it. Dad, 6-8 years later, this happened. This is how I feel about it. That's you want to avoid that. So how you avoid that is, again, building up your life, taking away the narrative of stimulating that anger. I get you're pissed off. Men's group, you need that support system big time. In any case, guys, this video is going on a long time. I'll make more specific videos for it. This is I'm doing this as a live on Facebook for the Austin Men's Development Group, but I'll also put it up on YouTube. If you've watched it all, thanks. There's a link in there about the divorced dad's child custody guide. Get it. That's your best starting place. And then I would just say, if you really want help, MDX all the way. You need a support group. That group is there for you. We actually have live local meetups in Austin. Right now for COVID, we don't, but that's a super helpful thing for many men in it. And then we have calls 30 hours a week where you can plug in, get the support you need, 24-hour support system on Facebook and a private group that can't be searched or found or whatever. We might move it to Discord even just because legal stuff, like if you are going through a case, certain things can be subpoenaed and so on. But you need a support system. You're probably not used to it as a man, and it's there for you. We have built it. If you don't like our way of doing it, there may be some other options out there, but you need a support group that has been there, done that, and made it out on the other side. In any case, stay safe with yourself. Man, this is a big deal. This is your biggest fight as a father. This is your rite of passage in your life, maybe your second or third one, but it is something where you can come out better, more powerful, stronger than you could imagine. But you have to do the right things. You can have a great life. You may not feel it now. You might feel like nothing works. You might feel like nothing is happening. You might not be able to eat. You might just barely be able to motivate yourself to get to work. You can be great. You will be great, but you have to take the right actions. All right. We've done it thousands of times here. Please listen to this advice. All right. I'm out of here. Happy Friday, guys, and we'll talk to you guys soon.